He transformed a family of traffickers into a war machine and plunged all of northern Mexico into a spiral of blood. This is the true story of Ramón Arellano Félix, the military brain of the Tijuana Cartel. How far can a man go to become the absolute lord of a border? In the dense heat of Culiacán, when summer bends the city under a blazing sky, a child opens his eyes to a world already marked by powder and blood. It is August 31st, 1964. The records write it in cold ink, but fate engraves it in fire. Ramón Eduardo Arellano Félix is born in Sinaloa, land of corn, poppies, and secrets whispered at night. Around him, a family stretches like a pack. Brothers, sisters, a brood that grows close, compact, bound more by necessity than by tenderness. Benjamín, the calculating mind. Eduardo, Francisco Javier, Carlos, Luis Fernando, Francisco Rafael. Enedina, whose gaze is already counting. Others still. All bear the same name, the same roots planted in this land of abrupt valleys and hills, where people grow what the law curses, but hunger demands. Their parents come from those lost villages in the Triángulo Dorado, where the mountains hide poppy fields like open wounds in the greenery, where the elders tell in low voices the stories of the first traffickers, those who go up at night with bags of leaves and come back down with money and fear. In this region, the state is distant, the law is negotiated, and survival is paid for with silence. Ramon grows up with the smell of damp earth after the rain, the sound of crickets at night, and behind these familiar sounds, another rhythm rises, darker, that of shipments crossing the Sierras, of rumors of corrupt soldiers, of bought policemen. Culiacán already trembles like a sick heart. The city knows what is brewing in its entrails. The children sense it without naming it. The years pass. Mexico changes. To the north, the border stands like a shining scar, a promise of gold for those who know how to cross it. To the south, the marijuana and poppy fields spread. The United States up there draws in drugs like an insatiable lung. In the 1970s, the trafficking of Mexican marijuana and heroin swells, grows, overflows. The cold reports of the DEA put numbers to it. In the cantinas of Sinaloa, people sing about it in half words. At the heart of this rise in power, one name reigns: the Guadalajara Cartel. Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, the Godfather, weaves his web with Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo, Rafael Caro Quintero. They control the routes, buy men, kneel before no one. Under their shadow, families learn the business of the night, the art of clandestine routes, the price of silence. The Arellano Félix watch, listen, wait. Then comes the shock that cracks the edifice. 1985. The kidnapping, torture, and assassination of DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, a man torn from the light, broken in the shadows. The American government wakes up like a wounded beast. The United States demands heads. Mexico wavers. Pressure mounts. The Guadalajara Cartel begins to splinter. The first hammer blows ring out on the Godfather's statue. It is in these rumbling years that the Arellano Félix family moves. Slowly, methodically, it glides westward, following the invisible line of the border. Rumor has it that in the late 1970s, early 1980s, they settle in Tijuana, Baja California, a border town like an open wound towards San Diego. A human ocean crosses each day the bridges, checkpoints, metal fences. Trucks, cars, suitcases pass through. In this flow, there are legal goods, and then there is the rest. Tijuana is a sentinel between two worlds, a city of glaring light and dark alleys, brothels, casinos, nightclubs, markets, border posts. It is the crossing point to California, to American abundance. Customs statistics speak of massive flows of people and goods. In the turmoil, traffickers see something else, a perfect cover, a veil of crowds under which to slip cocaine, marijuana, heroin. Ramon arrives in this city that never sleeps. He is still young, but his eyes harden quickly. He understands. Here, the border is not a barrier. It is a resource, an open pit mine. The Arellano Félix are no longer just a family from Sinaloa. They become a silent presence in Tijuana. They observe. They examine the routes, the docks, the dusty hills overlooking the sea. In April 1989, fate strikes again at the world of godfathers. Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo is arrested. The king falls, but the crown does not disappear. It shatters. The roots are divided up, the territories redistributed. Regional structures emerge from the rubble of Guadalajara. In Sinaloa, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, Héctor Luis Palma Salazar, Ismael El Mayo Zambada forged their own empire. In Juárez, Amado Carrillo Fuentes rises, the future Lord of the Skies. And on the Tijuana border, a new name carves out a place, that of the Arellano Félix. In the shadow of a cell, Félix Gallardo, it is said, distributes the plazas like a fallen king, handing out the remnants of a kingdom. To the Arellano Félix family, he entrusts Tijuana, a strategic plaza, a keystone, the border with California, the highways leading to Los Angeles, to the major cities of the American interior, a corridor of wealth and death. Thus begins the construction of an organization. Slowly, stone by stone, the Organización Arellano Félix rises. At the top, Benjamín, the strategist. He calculates profits, negotiates with the Colombians, launders money through shops, businesses, the underground circuits of finance. At his side, Enedina, discreet, methodical, keeps the books, oversees the legal fronts, monitors the flow of dollars heading back south. For the authorities, for the DEA, for the journalists who begin to note his name, he is something else. He is the armed wing, the head of security, the commander of the sicarios. Where Benjamín talks, Ramon cuts. Where Benjamín counts, Ramon charges. He does not negotiate the routes, he defends them with fire. Early 1990s. In discreet reports, in sealed indictments, an acronym appears. OAF, Organización Arellano Félix. Prosecutors from the Southern District of California, DEA agents, FBI investigators, begin to trace the lines of this new border empire. In the United States, they see the numbers, tons of cocaine, loads of marijuana. In Mexico, they see the corpses. Ramon takes on a face in these files. The DEA describes him as the operational commander. Newspapers like the Los Angeles Times, the San Diego Union Tribune, Proceso, Zeta Tijuana present him as the head of the armed branch. Under his orders, groups of hired killers, men who kill without asking questions, men who know that a mistake is paid for the same way as treason, with death. Ramon's sicarios execute enemies, supposed traitors, rivals. They gun people down in the street, they shoot in restaurants, they open fire on cars in broad daylight. Police sources, later repentant witnesses, will speak of meetings where Ramon himself draws up the plans, assigns the targets, chooses the weapons. The rumor of his violence spreads. Mexican and American authorities describe him as the warlike soul of a cartel that advances in bursts of gunfire. At the beginning of the 1990s, the power of the Tijuana Cartel consolidates. The organization controls routes through which Colombian cocaine moves north. The Cali cartels and other South American suppliers deal with them. Federal indictments detail the charges. Shipments by truck, by light aircraft, by maritime container, hiding places in vehicles, tunnels under the border. The money flows down, the drugs move up. Tijuana prospers in fear. Little by little, the city becomes covered with corpses. Official Mexican statistics record the rise in homicides linked to drug trafficking in Baja California. In the streets, people speak of levantones, of disappearances, of shootouts. The weekly Zeta of Tijuana begins to write clearly what others only dare to hint at. The links between the Arellano Félix organization, certain local police officers, political officials. The Arellano name is written in ink and in blood. With this notoriety comes the harsh glare of foreign eyes. Little by little, over the course of the 1990s, the names of Benjamín, Ramon, and the other brothers slide onto the lists of the DEA, the FBI. Arrest warrants pile up. Indictments remain under seal, ready to be opened at the first misstep. Drug trafficking, criminal conspiracy, money laundering. Everything is written. Only the arrest is missing. Joint operations begin between the Procuraduría General de la República in Mexico and U.S. agencies. Behind-the-scenes meetings, intelligence exchanges, official statements speak of enhanced cooperation. But in the streets of Tijuana, another reality plays out. The Arellano Félix are still there, and so are their enemies. Because in northwestern Mexico, another force has risen, the Sinaloa Cartel. Its leaders bear names the world is learning to fear: Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, Héctor Luis Palma, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. They too covet the routes toward California, toward Arizona. They too want control over the crossings, the border towns, the corruptors in uniform. The rivalry quickly turns into war. In the mid-1990s, homicides multiply in the Northwest: Baja California, Sinaloa, Sonora. Clashes break out on the roads, in the streets of Culiacán, of Tijuana, in bars, hotels, safe houses. Later, in U.S. trials, cartel collaborators will recount what everyone already suspects. It is an open war between the Arellano Félix organization and Sinaloa. One day in May 1993, this war bursts into the open, before the eyes of an entire country. On May 24th, at Guadalajara International Airport, the heat shimmers on the tarmac. Passengers walk toward their planes, drag their suitcases, speak in low voices. And suddenly, the din. Armed men appear. Bursts of gunfire explode. Bullets slice through the air. The target, authorities say, is Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. But in the chaos, another man falls. The Archbishop of Guadalajara, Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, collapses, riddled with bullets. Around him, other bodies are scattered on the ground. Bystanders, innocents. Windows shatter, screams blend with the crash of weapons. When the smoke clears, an entire country holds its breath. The official investigation concludes it was a tragic mistake. The cardinal, mistaken for a drug lord in the middle of an assassination attempt on Guzmán. A blunder in an invisible war. Mexican authorities identify sicarios linked to the Arellano Félix organization. Ramon's name appears in reports, in police leaks, in the press. Alleged mastermind, sources say. No court formally convicts him for that day, but in public opinion, his image crystallizes, that of a man whose operations can shake both church and state. The Vatican condemns. Mexico is outraged. The government is cornered. Cooperation with the United States intensifies. Ramon's name climbs even higher on the priority target lists. The DEA and the FBI place him among the most wanted traffickers. Wanted posters are published with photos, aliases, physical descriptions. The rewards rise. Millions of dollars for whoever breaks the wall of silence. On the ground, Ramon reacts like a hunted warrior. He tightens his security. He forges a paramilitary structure around him. Authorities describe him as heading groups of heavily armed sicarios. Some are former police officers, former soldiers, men trained in shooting, tactics, urban combat. In the streets of Tijuana, the sharp crack of assault rifles, the roar of automatic weapons is heard more and more often. Grenades, bulletproof vests, improvised armored vehicles. The city becomes militarized. The attacks no longer target only rivals. Police officers fall. Officials, journalists too. Those who threaten the interests of the Arellano Félix organization become targets. In investigative files, in NGO reports, the names of victims stretch on, endless. In U.S. trials, informants describe war councils, orders given by Ramon, lists of names to be eliminated, kidnappings planned with cold precision. In the face of this surge of violence, the state's response grows heavier. At the end of the 1990s, police and military operations are launched against the cartel's infrastructure in Tijuana, Rosarito, Ensenada, and other cities in Baja California. Warehouses are raided. Safe houses are stormed. The press is shown tables covered with weapons, dollars, sealed packages of cocaine and marijuana. The PGR, the DEA, publish their tallies. Seized shipments, confiscated money. But the leaders remain free. Mid-level men fall. Some, taken to the United States, choose to talk. They provide fragments from inside the Arellano machine. Surveillance tails get longer. Electronic monitoring intensifies. Wiretaps, infiltrations multiply. Behind every call, every movement of money, a listening ear may be hiding. In the streets, the war between Tijuana and Sinaloa continues to spit sparks. Attacks, shootouts, ambushes. In Tijuana, in Culiacán, sometimes in San Diego, the Mexican and American press report these clashes as episodes of a never-ending battle. People close to Joaquin Guzman and Ismael Zambada are targeted. Homicides hit allies, lieutenants, intermediaries. In return, the Sinaloa cartel takes revenge on members and allies of the Arellano Félix organization in different northern states. With each episode, Ramon's name comes up again, sometimes as coordinator, sometimes as presumed mastermind. Witnesses accuse him, reports mention him, even if formal convictions are lacking for each specific crime. But one thing is clear: in this war, he is the warlord. To escape the tightening net, Ramon disappears. He splits himself, fragments into multiple identities. Fake IDs, forged documents, aliases. He collects them like weapons. Reports place him in Baja California, then in Sinaloa, then in Jalisco, then in Michoacán. Sometimes in border towns, sometimes in beach resorts. His silhouette appears in rumors, never in handcuffs. The authorities publish and republish his wanted notices. The photos spread in newspapers and on television. The reward for his capture is increased. But in the streets, in the bars, in the areas controlled by the cartel, the code of silence holds firm. Those who know where he is also know the cost of betrayal. On the eve of the 2000s, the Arellano Félix organization still controls Tijuana. Despite the pressure, despite the war with Sinaloa, they keep the plaza. Tons of cocaine and marijuana continue to cross into the United States, as evidenced by seizures and the convictions of their associates in U.S. courts. But the price is written on the walls. Tijuana becomes one of the most violent cities in Mexico. The official statistics confirm it. The residents live it. And in this bloody theater, Ramon remains what he has become, the cartel's main military chief. His name is everywhere, on fugitive lists, in intelligence reports, in secret exchanges between agencies. He is described as extremely dangerous, ready to do anything not to fall. The years turn. The century changes. The war with the Sinaloa cartel does not let up. In several Mexican states, clashes continue. Brutal, unpredictable. In December 2000, Vicente Fox comes to the presidency of Mexico. He promises change. He promises to attack the cartels, to strengthen cooperation with the United States. Operations become tougher. Manhunts become more precise. The targeted names are repeated, relentlessly. Among them, that of Ramon. On February 24, 2002, in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, the sea rolls its waves against the coast. The city breathes to the rhythm of its tourists, its fishermen, its residents who still do not know that on this day, a story is about to break. According to the official version, state or municipal police officers, sources differ, are carrying out a check, an operation that seems routine. A patrol like so many others, a routine stop, a vehicle inspection. Nothing that heralds the crash. Suddenly, armed men appear. The calm is torn apart. The police are attacked. Guns speak before voices. Bullets streak through the hot air. In the exchange of fire, a man falls. He lies on the ground, his blood soaking into the dust. His identity at first is just a question mark, a name still unspoken by those around him. But in the hours that follow, the doubts narrow. His pockets are searched. His papers are examined. His fingerprints are taken. His features are compared with the photos. Mexican authorities soon announce it. The man killed in Mazatlan is Ramón Arellano Félix. The Procuraduría General de la República confirms it, officially, solemnly. Cameras record the statements. The news spreads across Mexico, then crosses borders. In an instant, one of the most wanted fugitives in the Americas falls from the ranks of the living to those of the dead. Police show the weapons recovered, the documents seized. Everything points to him. Everything indicates that it is indeed the warlord of Tijuana who now lies under a white sheet. In the camp of the Mexican and American authorities, they speak of a major blow, a victory in a never-ending war. DEA and PGR reports underline it. Ramon's death deprives the Tijuana Cartel of its main military leader, its coordinator of armed operations. The beast is wounded. They insist that its ability to carry out coordinated violent actions will be weakened. But behind the scenes of the cartel, the news has a more bitter taste. Benjamín, still the brain, knows what this loss means. He still has the networks, the contacts, the laundering circuits. But the sword that struck for him is gone. The war machine that was his brother has stopped dead, in the middle of a street in Mazatlan. Less than 2 weeks later, on March 9, 2002, in Puebla, far from Tijuana, the axe falls again. Mexican authorities arrest Benjamín Arellano Félix. The man who handled the accounts, the deals, the strategy, is captured. He is transferred to high-security facilities. The bars close on the one who was once one of the most powerful kingpins of the border. In the following years, he would be extradited to the United States, tried by a federal court, and sentenced to a long prison term. Decades behind bars, for drug trafficking, for money laundering. The dismantling does not stop there. The other brothers are hunted down, arrested one after another. Eduardo, Francisco Javier, other lieutenants fall during the 2000s. With each capture, Mexican and U.S. official reports trace the same curve, the gradual loss of power of the Arellano Félix organization. In the gaps left by their downfall, other groups move forward, especially the Sinaloa Cartel, which extends its shadow over Tijuana and beyond. That said, the Tijuana Cartel does not vanish in a single blow. It reconfigures itself, like a broken body seeking a new balance. According to the DEA and Mexican authorities, other family members partially take over. Enedina, the sister, consolidates her role in finances. A nephew, Fernando Sanchez Arellano, El Ingeniero, appears in the files as a new operational head. The Arellano Félix organization fragments. It loses its grip on cross-border trafficking compared to its peak in the 1990s, but it maintains a criminal presence in Tijuana. Smaller, perhaps more cautious, less spectacular than in the days when Ramon made the guns speak, but still real. In Mexican security reports, splits appear, local groups arising from the former AFO, shards of an empire that refuses to disappear completely. On the judicial front, Ramon's death changes the equation without erasing the past. Some investigations that targeted him directly are closed, for lack of a living person to prosecute. Others are refocused. The search now turns to accomplices, to the triggermen, the kidnappers, the torturers who, under his presumed direction, shot, abducted, tortured. In U.S. indictments, his name continues to appear, no longer as the main defendant, but as context, as a cornerstone to explain the structure and history of the cartel. He becomes a reference point, a marker in the cartography of crime. In official reports on drug-related violence in Mexico in the 1990s and early 2000s, his figure remains present. He is cited as one of the most violent traffickers of his generation, as a military leader who helped militarize criminal organizations, transforming bands of traffickers into shadow armies. On the ground, his death and the gradual downfall of his family upset the narco-geography of the northwest of the country. The Sinaloa Cartel strengthens its position around Tijuana, spreads to other border routes. Analysts and authorities note the redistribution of territories and alliances. Other groups in turn rise to power. The violence does not disappear. It changes its face, its name, its methods.